Have you ever walked into a place and felt every eye judging you before you even said a word? That's how Maya Johnson felt the moment she stepped into Anderson's mart. The automatic doors slid open, but instead of a welcome, she felt a wall of silence. Every whisper seemed to stop. Every glance seemed to weigh her down. She was just there to buy a birthday gift for her mother. But to Ethan, the store clerk behind the counter, she was just another suspicious black teen. Maya walked through the aisles slowly, looking at the perfume shelf. She smiled softly, picking up a small bottle with a golden cap. It was elegant but simple, just like her mom. As she read the label, she could feel someone's stare drilling into her back. She turned slightly and saw Ethan pretending to rearrange candy bars while keeping his eyes on her every move. Her hands trembled slightly. She had been through this before, judged by strangers who didn't even know her name. She put the perfume back and moved to another shelf, hoping he'd stop. But he didn't. He followed. Each time she took a step, his shadow wasn't far behind. When she reached for her phone to check her shopping list, Ethan snapped. "Hey," he barked, stepping forward, "put that back before you walk out." Everyone in the store turned. Maya froze, confused and scared. "Excuse me," she whispered. "I didn't take anything." Ethan's voice rose, echoing across the aisles. "Don't play innocent. I saw you pocket something. Empty your bag." Maya's heart raced. People stared. A mother pulled her child closer. The air felt heavy, thick with humiliation. Tears formed in her eyes, but she refused to cry in front of them. "You don't even know me," she said quietly. Before she could explain, Mr. Anderson, the manager, came rushing out of the office. "What's going on here?" Ethan crossed his arms. "Caught her stealing, sir. Thought she could get away with it." Mr. Anderson looked at Maya, calm, trembling, but dignified. "We'll check the cameras," he said firmly. As they headed to the back office, Maya whispered under her breath, "Why do they always see guilt before they see a person?" And as she sat outside that room, waiting for her truth to be seen, she looked into the camera with tears welling in her eyes and said softly, "If you've ever been judged just for being who you are, please subscribe. Because stories like mine deserve to be heard." Have you ever been so sure of your truth, yet so powerless that no one believed a single word you said? Maya sat on the hard wooden chair outside Mr. Anderson's office, her fingers gripping her phone tightly. She wasn't messaging anyone, just holding on to it like it was proof that she still had some control left. Through the glass window, she could see Ethan talking fast, his hands moving as he tried to justify what he'd done. Inside, the hum of the security footage played on the monitor. Mr. Anderson leaned closer to the screen, his brows furrowed. Ethan stood with confidence, a smirk of certainty painted across his face. "You'll see, sir," he said. "These people always act innocent." Maya heard every word through the thin office wall, her stomach twisted. She wanted to shout, to defend herself, to tell him she wasn't these people. She was just Maya Johnson, a teenager who wanted to buy a gift for her mother. But she stayed quiet. Years of being told to not make a scene had taught her that silence was safer. Minutes felt like hours. Then the door opened. Mr. Anderson stepped out, his expression unreadable. Ethan followed, arms crossed, still looking sure of his accusation. "Well?" Maya asked softly, her voice cracked a little. Mr. Anderson sighed. "The footage doesn't show you taking anything," he admitted. Ethan frowned. "Maybe she hid it before the camera angle caught her," he muttered. Maya felt anger rise in her chest. "Why can't you just say you were wrong?" she said quietly but firmly. Ethan laughed under his breath. "Because I've been working here 5 years and I know what I saw." Her eyes locked onto his. "No," she said, "you know what you wanted to see." For a moment, the air went still. Mr. Anderson turned to Ethan. "That's enough. Let it go." He handed Maya a small coupon as if a discount could erase humiliation. "You can go now." Maya took the paper, her hand shaking. She walked out slowly, her dignity trying to stay intact. But as soon as she stepped into the cool air outside, her tears finally fell. Not because she was weak, but because she was tired of proving she wasn't what they assumed. As she walked away, she didn't know that someone else had been watching the entire scene from the upper floor. A woman in a beige coat with eyes full of both sadness and power. Mrs. Grace Anderson, the store owner herself. And as Maya disappeared into the parking lot, Grace whispered to her assistant, "Find out who that girl is." The next chapter of Maya's story was just beginning. She looked into the camera of her own phone that night, recording her pain in silence before whispering, "If you've ever been made to feel small in a world that won't listen, subscribe. Let's make our voices too loud to ignore." Have you ever wished the truth could walk back into the room and make everyone see what they've done? The next morning, Anderson's mart opened as usual, but the air was heavier than usual. Ethan stood behind the counter, scrolling through his phone, acting like yesterday never happened. He didn't know that his moment of authority was about to become his greatest embarrassment. Mrs. Grace Anderson arrived quietly. She wasn't the kind of woman who shouted; her silence carried power. She called Mr. Anderson to her office, closed the door, and asked, "Tell me about the incident yesterday." Mr. Anderson explained everything: Ethan's suspicion, Maya's humiliation, and the camera footage that proved her innocence. Grace's face remained calm, but her heart was heavy. "Do you know who that girl is?" she asked softly. He shook his head. Grace turned her computer screen toward him. "I found out. Her name is Maya Johnson." She paused, eyes narrowing. "Her mother, Lydia Johnson, is our silent business partner. She owns 40% of this store." Mr. Anderson's jaw dropped. "You mean—" "Yes," Grace interrupted. "The girl he accused yesterday is the daughter of the woman who helped us build this business." Meanwhile, Maya sat at home, still replaying the scene in her mind. Her mother noticed her silence over breakfast. "Maya, what's wrong?" she asked gently. Maya hesitated, then told her everything: the stairs, the accusation, the humiliation. Lydia's face went pale, then firm. "Which store was this?" she asked. "Anderson's Mart," Maya whispered. For a moment, the room was silent. Lydia stood up slowly, her expression calm but fierce. "Get dressed," she said. "We're going there." Back at the store, Ethan was restocking shelves when the glass doors opened. In walked two women, one young and quiet, one confident and commanding. Grace saw them and immediately came forward. "Lydia, I was about to call you," she said with respect. Ethan looked up, confused. His smirk disappeared when Grace turned to him and said, "Ethan, I'd like you to meet Miss Lydia Johnson, the co-owner of this store. And this," she added, pointing to Maya, "is her daughter." Ethan froze, the blood drained from his face. I didn't know," he stammered. Lydia's eyes met his, sharp and unflinching. "That's the problem," she said. "You didn't want to know." The entire staff went silent. The aisles that once echoed with whispers now felt like a courtroom. Ethan's arrogance melted into shame as he realized who he had humiliated. Grace looked at Maya and smiled softly. "Maya, I saw everything. I'm sorry this happened in my store, but maybe this moment will open some eyes." Maya nodded slowly. "It already has." As she turned to leave, she looked into the camera of her phone again and whispered with strength in her voice, "If you believe in justice, in truth, and in change, subscribe. Because silence only helps the ones who cause the pain." Have you ever been through something so unfair that it broke you for a moment, but later you realized it built something stronger inside you? Maya stood by the glass doors of Anderson's Mart, looking at her reflection. The same girl who had walked in terrified a day ago now stood tall, with her mother beside her and truth on her side. Inside, Ethan still stood frozen. His pride had turned into panic. Grace Anderson called the staff together. "Yesterday," she said firmly, "one of our employees treated a customer unfairly because of how she looked. That customer turned out to be part of this very family, but that's not what makes this wrong. It was wrong even if she wasn't." Her words echoed through the store like a quiet storm. Ethan lowered his head. I'm sorry," he muttered. But Lydia Johnson looked at him and said, "An apology doesn't erase what you made her feel, but it can start something if you mean it." He nodded slowly, guilt in his eyes. "I do," he said. "I let my bias speak louder than my reason." Grace placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. "Maya, would you like to say something?" Maya took a deep breath. Everyone's eyes turned to her. The girl who was once accused now had the floor. "Yesterday I was scared," she began softly. "Not because I did anything wrong, but because I knew no one would believe me. That's what racism feels like, being guilty in people's eyes before you even speak." She paused, her voice trembling slightly. But today, I'm standing here not to embarrass anyone, but to remind everyone you never know who someone is. So treat everyone like they matter. Because they do, a silence fell over the store. For the first time, Ethan looked at her not as a suspect, but as a human being. Mr. Anderson stepped forward quietly. "We'll do better," he said. "I promise." Grace turned to Lydia. "We'll start anti-bias training for every employee," she declared. "This store will never allow humiliation to walk through its aisles again." Lydia smiled faintly. "That's all I wanted to hear." She turned to Maya and whispered, "You didn't just stand up for yourself today, you stood up for everyone who can't." As they walked out together, the afternoon light hit Maya's face. It felt warm, not just from the sun, but from the peace of being seen, finally, as who she was. That night, Maya sat on her bed, opened her camera one last time, and recorded the ending of her story. Her eyes glistened with emotion as she said, "Maybe the world won't change overnight, but if stories like mine make even one person think before they judge, that's a start. So if you believe everyone deserves respect, subscribe. Because together, we can make humanity stained, but not broken."